have a home in almost every state in the country. You, sir, in the yellow, this is actually your backyard in Hawaii that you probably don't know about. Way in the back in the red, this is actually the view from your house in Wyoming. By the end of the talk, you'll realize I'm not that crazy. I'm a freshman here at UCF, so college, it's a new experience for me, and college is all about new experiences. I've learned a lot in the past 2 semesters. One of the things I've learned is how to eat for cheap. Ramen, Steak and Shake, and I have become very well acquainted. I've also learned how to put up with irritating roommates. This is my roommate's mess, which I'm forced to put up with, and consequently, I've learned how to become an irritating roommate, so I've blocked up his door with water bottles. I had an exceptionally monotonous week. It was just ramen, roommate's mess, repeat. Ramen, roommate's mess, repeat. Chef Boyardee, roommate's mess, repeat. I needed a new experience, and I needed it immediately. So I spoke to my best friend, Google, and I looked up how to travel for cheap. And of course, I found a bunch of nonsense philosophical answers, like embrace serendipity. What does that even mean? I'm looking for concrete answers here on how to travel for cheap. And luckily, I found a website called WWOOF.org. Now, despite the onomatopoeia, it has nothing to do with dogs. WWOOF stands for Worldwide Opportunities on Organic Farms. It's an organization and a website that has a directory of farms located across the US. And as soon as I found this, I knew this is what I needed to do. I knew this is what I wanted to do. And the process is fairly simple. You click on a state, you look at the farms in that state, and then you can read their bio and look at their pictures. And call me shallow, but when I was looking for a farm, I was just looking for pretty pictures. And some of these farms, they didn't even have a single photo. I mean, just imagine your friend approaches you and he says, dude, there's this girl in my class. You two would be perfect together. You know, you're really excited. You go online, you look her up on Facebook, and then you see this. I'm not the only one who would feel uncomfortable about something like this. But luckily, I found a farm in Old Town, Florida, which is about 2.5 hours north of Orlando. And I gave Rich a call. Rich is the farm owner. And I said, listen, I'm a college student. I only have a weekend, but I wake up early and I go to bed late. I don't actually do either of those 2 things, but I want it to be convincing. So I packed my bags and drove the 2.5 hours to WWOOF. And I pulled up to this century-old wooden house with rows of blueberry plants in the background. It was really an incredible weekend. So incredible that as soon as I got back to UCF, I was ready to do it again. So I called my buddy Nathan and I said, dude, there's this website that's an online community and cultural exchange program that allows you to learn practical farming skills and be part of an organic agricultural movement and experience the heart of American agrarian culture. I found this picturesque blueberry farm and you have to come with me. He was convinced. What I didn't tell him though was that there was other volunteers, so we were gonna have to share a bed. Also, the room we were in was being used as storage, but he got over it. I arranged for us to stay there for a week this time. It's amazing what a week on a farm can do to you. Our day started at 9 a.m., and of course our breakfast consisted of blueberries. And then we would shovel pine bark into a trailer. Then, once the trailer was full, one of the other woofers would drive the trailer down to the rows of blueberry plants, and we put it down onto the bed. We would do this until the sun was low in the sky. And when you work that hard with someone for that long, you really get to know them. And that's what WWOOF's about. It's all about connecting with people. I met Rebecca and Eric. They're 2 woofers from California. They quit their jobs and have been traveling the past 6 months using the WWOOF network all across the US. Started in California, drove up to Alaska, then Tennessee, then down to Florida. They were trying to escape the polar vortex at the time, but unfortunately it was still so cold that the mulch, which we had soaked the night before with the hose, had a layer of frost over it in the morning. And this is Central Florida, so it was really unusual. I asked Eric, I said, you know, when are you going to go back to your jobs? When's the end of your trip? And he just shrugged his shoulders. And I think that answer really was symbolic of the WWOOF philosophy, that idea of embracing uncertainty. The farm I stayed at had an old rock quarry in the back that had filled with water over the years. That's Rich and I, the farm owner, going for a swim. As we get in, he says, "Don't worry, the alligator keeps to itself." He was completely serious. At this point, I really was embracing luck. I was embracing serendipity. So that guy on Yahoo Answers that I complained about earlier, he knew what he was talking about. On another occasion, I hear a gunshot, and I hear Rich come into the house, and he says, "I've got good news, and I've got bad news. The good news is there's dinner for tonight. The bad news is it's squirrel." Without WWOOF, I would never know what squirrel tasted like. But the point is, when I pulled up to the century-old wooden house, I had no idea who was inside, where they were from, or what their story was. But after a week, I learned it. Rich was a surgical laser salesman living in Beverly Hills, and the property had been in his family for over a century. When his grandparents died, his parents inherited it, and then he bought it from them, sold off the last of the herd, and started a blueberry farm. I asked him, I said, "Rich, why organic? It's a lot harder to do." He said it had to be organic. It had to be something wholesome. Ultimately, Rich makes a fraction of the money he would have if he had stayed in corporate America. But it's about something much greater. That feeling I got when I woke up in the morning to work on something wholesome, something that was good for me and good for the earth. I believe that that's the feeling that motivates Rich and that motivates other WWOOFers. I learned a lot from him. He really reconnected me to the land. When you work on a farm, you gain a real appreciation for what goes into making your food. Again, breakfast was blueberries that had come straight from outside. Lunch was vegetables that had come from a neighbor's farm. Dinner was oysters that a local fisherman had caught. I mean, they were so fresh that we'd open them up and baby crabs would come out. Food doesn't get fresher than that. Suddenly something seemed really wrong with the packets of freeze-dried peas that came with the ramen I had been eating only a couple weeks earlier. I'd be lying if I said I never ate another packet of ramen or another microwavable dinner. But the point is, now I'm conscious of what it is that I'm consuming. When I eat fresh food, I really do appreciate it because I spent hours pruning blueberry bushes and putting down pine bark so that somewhere, someone at a Whole Foods would pop a blueberry into their mouth and think, wow, that is really good. I never want to be a farmer, but I never want to be as disconnected from what I'm eating as I was before WWOOF. I encourage all of you to seek out this new experience because you never know what you're going to learn. And it's about time you visit your new home, whatever state it may be in. Thank you.